Former FBI Special Agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, as someone who devoted his career to the FBI, how disgusted are you this morning?
Well, let me just tell you one thing before I go on with this, is that what Kevin just said there at the end, and listening to the Republican banter that I was hearing there, if it's business as usual for the Republicans, that landslide is only going to go one direction. That's in the Democrats' favor, because all this banter doesn't mean anything. Just like serving in the FBI and taking an oath doesn't mean anything if you go against that oath, or if you're serving for an agency that does the political bidding of the left. And that's exactly what happens. I'm disgusted. I talked to several FBI and former FBI agents today, and some of them have talked to local authorities, and the local authorities literally said to them, and I'm quoting this, "I'm not sure, besides yourself, I trust you, but I'm not sure if I can even trust to work with the FBI anymore." That is phenomenal for local authorities to distrust the FBI, because that just tells you where the rest of the American public is and the reality of what's going on here. Everyone I talk to in Washington, D.C. says that everything that they do, 90% of what they do, has to do with the January 6th hearing. Not terrorism, not real problems in the United States. It's January 6th. That's what they're concentrating their efforts on. So in this case, my sources in the Secret Service, or any of those people that are out there that are thinking that this was just a show, let me tell you that even the Secret Service only knew 30 minutes before they were coming there. So at first I was thinking, well, why didn't attorneys talk? They could have talked this out. Maybe Trump knew they were coming there, but even the Secret Service didn't know. So for me as a former FBI agent, I sit back and I look at my resume, and my own resume has taken a tremendous hit from this. Once again, the FBI and the DOJ being weaponized, and many in those agencies doing the bidding willingly. Because I would not have done this had I still been in.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're talking about is the fallout from this could be unprecedented even within law enforcement agencies. And it really does, Jonathan, feel like something right now is missing from this story, like the punishment of an FBI raid doesn't meet the quote-unquote crime when we're talking about the National Archives. Is there any justifiable reason we could learn in the coming days for this FBI raid?
Not when you look at the precedents. Comey himself, the former director of the FBI, took his classified personal notes and gave them to a professor at Columbia University, who then leaked them to the media, in which that case it was used to get a FISA warrant, right? We have Petraeus, a general, who took his own personal notes and gave them to a woman he was sleeping with so she could write a book about him. I mean, this has happened over and over again. And for this case, for them to go and look for personal notes is really, it's unjustifiable. And I'll tell you something, Carly, there is evidence for what's occurring. If you look at the way that the Trump fake dossier, the way that entire thing played out, you are seeing that over and over again, where they go and they blow something up in the media, then they use a federal agency to go in and actually do an act. They take that information, they combine it, put it back out in media, which MSNBC and CNN are already saying things about crimes. Then they use that to go get further warrants, and then they blow that up in Congress to try to discredit this president. It keeps happening over and over.
And on the flip side, cover up other stories like allegedly within the FBI covering up the Hunter Biden laptop scandal and calling it Russian disinformation.
Along those lines, con law expert Jonathan Turley absolutely nails it. Listen.
You had people like Sandy Berger, a former national security advisor, who was found to have taken classified documents out, hidden in his socks, and he was not prosecuted. You also have records cases like James Comey was accused of taking FBI material out when he left the FBI. The history has been not to prosecute those cases.
Jonathan, how many raids did you conduct on behalf of the glorified librarians at the National Archive when you were an FBI agent?
Oh, it was all the time. No, to be honest with you, that happened about as much as white supremacy arrests. It never occurs. Those cases are unheard of at white supremacy, except in prison, pretty much. And this is the same case here. Now, I was questioning where this authority would come from for the FBI to get involved. The National Archives can actually reach out to the FBI and the DOJ to do this. But you have to understand something. The FBI cannot tell the DOJ what they want to go after. They can recommend it, but the DOJ has to approve it. But on the flip side, the DOJ can tell the FBI, we want you to go after this. And that's very important for people to see the trickle-down effect. And I want to say one important thing. When we look at Christopher Wray, we see exactly the one mistake, and I'm a big Trump supporter. I think he did a great job as president. But you have to be very careful in loyalty in appointing these people that are Washington, D.C., people who orbit Washington, D.C. Christopher Wray, James Comey, Mueller, all these people worked for the DOJ before they came to the FBI, and that is dangerous. They should have taken the director from the FBI who grew up in the FBI and appointed him. But when you take a DOJ lawyer and you put him in charge of the FBI, his loyalty is going to be to the DOJ, and that's what's occurred.
So, Jonathan, where do things go from here? The FBI is now reportedly in possession of these boxes of documents. What happens next? And also, what does this mean? Does this mean that the former president is under criminal investigation?
It's a very good question, because they've been screaming criminal investigation all throughout the January 6th proceedings. So my question is, did they go there really for National Archives, or are they going there hunting for other information that they can further use to criminally go after the former president? And this is the reality. I can predict to you this is what's going to happen. They will use this information, as I said before, to go to the mainstream media and push this out. Then they will go to judges, get more warrants. I think we are just seeing the beginning of a widespread push to get information from Donald Trump and the people that are around him to intimidate them.
Trump's lawyers need to be in court in less than 4 hours in an ex parte motion to make sure not one page of those documents is looked at until privilege and other things are reviewed, to make sure that nothing gets reviewed until the lawyers sign off on it. Jonathan Gilliam, thank you very much, sir. When I'm in charge, you're going to be the FBI director. Appreciate it.
Todd, you're going to be in charge?
No, not yet. Meantime.